Hey everyone, and welcome back to the show that tells you, or I'm sorry, asks you to get all your books together, pull out a chair, and join us at the table. As always, I am PJ Murga. I don't know why I'm doing this voice, and I'm being joined by my man, Mr. Michael Powell. Please, Mr. Michael Powell, do some introductions. Tell them who you are and where they can find you on that sweet, sweet internet.
Well, I am Mr. Kapow, aka Michael Pow, and you can find me all over the internet on my social medias, which is at Mr. Kapow, that's MrKapao. And how about you, PJ?
Thank you so much. You know me, I am PJ.McGaw, and I'm everywhere all over the internet. That's PJ.McGaw. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, but Twitter's a little different. Twitter, I am the Mega W, Mega W, because I made it in college. But that being said, welcome to At the Table. Part of my introduction is usually to tell you how awesome and how excited we are for the show Edge of Legend. If you've seen the show, then you know what we're talking about. If you haven't, well, here I am, and here we are today to tell you a little bit about it while we discuss some of the amazing things that Paizo has put into these books. So for starters today, and we've been wanting to do this for a long time,
We've been talking about this. Let's do it now. And then we have a playtest pop up. Then we have the holiday stuff. It's like, okay, then we're gonna push it a little bit back. We're gonna push it a little bit back. This is gonna push it a little bit back.
Absolutely. I think we've had this idea since like October or November. We're like, let's talk about it, and then all these awesome things keep coming, and we're like, no, let's pump the brakes a bit.
Yeah. But I am gonna say, if you watch Edge of Legend, you're going to be really excited about this episode.
That's right. As you know, the first story arc, the first heroic campaign that the heroes of Edge of Legend are going through is a little thing called the Green War. As the Green Army, an unlikely alliance with cohesiveness and orders and infrastructure, made all the more insane by the fact that it's completely run by orcs and goblins, is basically trying to break a world war out all across the world to destroy the entire civilization of humanity and bring about a neutral chaos. And we're going to be talking today about what the Green Army is and what orcs and goblins are, not only with these amazing books, but, and of course the ancestry information therein, but also with Edge of Legends. So it's going to be a Q&A session, it's going to be lore dumps, it's going to be everything, and we're so excited to bridge this content with the show content, and we really hope that everyone that has questions can come in today, and if not, hey, check us out next time.
Yeah, you know how a lot of these sitcoms and stuff have the compilation shows? Well, this is the lore show.
Yeah, we don't have clip shows. We don't have that kind of budget, so we have behind-the-scenes lore dumps. Wither King is already saying out the gate, a neutral chaos. Sounds beautiful. Yes, I have seen such sights. Let me show you the songs of madness. Right, so without further ado, let's get cracking without lacking into this content. So the first thing we want to hit up is the goblins. And we're going to save the orcs for last because there's a lot with the orcs.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
See, this is why I use a tablet. See,
I respect the tablet, but man, I like my book to not only be a tome.
Do you even lift, bro?
Dude, I have not been able to lift in over 2 months, which saddens my muscles. But good thing is I got retested for the third time, and I'm healthy. I'm able to lift, so I will do that. But until then, do some bicep book curls.
There you go. Soon to be in the Edge of the Nat20 Production merch store.
Yeah. One day we're going to be making gym clothes because I cannot not have gym clothes. There's also this funny entity we'll talk about. Hopefully I'll surprise this entity in story later. But without further ado, let's talk about everyone's favorite football-headed psychopaths, the Gobbos. If I can find them in my book.
Do you want me to read the flavor? I have
Please
it
read
up
the
right here.
flavor.
All right.
Please.
The convoluted histories other people cling to don't interest goblins. Those small folks live in the moment, and they prefer tall tales over factual records. The wars of a few decades ago might as well be from an ancient past. Misunderstood by other people, goblins are happy how they are. Goblin virtues are about being present, creative, and honest. They strive to lead fulfilled lives, rather than worrying about how their journeys will end. To tell stories, not nitpick the facts. To be small, but dream big.
That is right. And if you're on your core rulebook page, the goblins start on page 46 on the left. And that is something that is really interesting. Goblins have always been, quote unquote, a monster class or a monster ancestry or whatever you want to call it. And what's really fascinating about the growth of TTRPG is how we're starting to better understand, and I think maybe almost using the word humanize these ancestries. They say here, if you want a character who's eccentric, enthusiastic, and fun-loving, you should play a goblin. Now, in theory, you can do this with any ancestry. Yeah. Gnomes and halflings work great for those exact same descriptors. But moving on, goblins are stumpy humanoids with large bodies, scrawny limbs, and massively oversized heads with large ears and beady red eyes. Their skin ranges from green to gray to blue, and they often bear scars, boils, and rashes. So they're about 3 feet tall. They're considered a small-sized creature. So there's a lot of fun that can come from that. In other editions, I've kind of overpowered them. The Fury of the Small. I think it's a little insane, but yeah, what are you going to do?
I got to say, in Edge of Legend, the Edge of Legend goblins, I just envision a bunch of Arnolds from Hey Arnold.
Because of the football head, right?
Yeah. Because you always empathize that point. I'm like, okay, it's Arnold from Hey Arnold.
You know, it's so weird. When Paizo first did the goblins in Pathfinder First Edition, they had these amazingly bulbous heads. And what I loved about it is how iconic the goblins in First Edition were. And you can see it now when you start tracking the different styles of goblin. The Pathfinder First Edition goblin, like, you can see it a mile away and go, I know that psychopath. That is a goblin. But let's start breaking down the mechanics of it. We can go in the fluff and lore all day of Paizo, but we're going to try to bridge it to the craziness of the goblins in Edge of Legend.
Should we really quickly talk a little bit about the, at least as written society?
You know, I think that's a good idea, because then we can compare and contrast if we wish.
Do you want to read it, or should I?
Sure, I'll read it in my fancy goblin accent, and by that I mean how goblins think they sound. Goblins tend to flock to strong leaders, forming small tribes. These tribes rarely number more than 100. Though the larger a tribe is, the more diligent the leader must be to keep order, a notoriously difficult task. As new threats rise across the inner sea region, many tribal elders have put aside their reckless ways in the hope of forging alliances that offer their people a greater chance at survival. Play and creativity matter more to goblins than productivity or study, and their encampments erupt with songs and laughter. Goblins bond closely with their allies, fiercely protecting those companions who have protected them or offered a sympathetic ear. Goblins tend to assume for their own protection that members of taller ancestries, which goblins often refer to colloquially as longshakes, or as I refer to, double talls, won't treat them kindly. Learning to trust longshanks is difficult for a goblin, and it's been only in recent years that such a partnership has even been an option. However, their attitude as people is changing rapidly, and their short lifespans and poor memories help them to adapt quickly. So, you ain't going to live long, and you have the attention span of a goldfish. Better make it work for you.
Yep. In chat, we have Lady Arturel said, love it, the Goblin Hunter reality nature show. And seriously, that's what I envisioned as you started speaking. One of those nature channels, and we're like, all right now, as we see the North African goblin running through the savannah, look how graceful he is.
I kind of like the idea of like a Steve Irwin who is a goblin. He's got like a little khaki shirt on, like no pants, and he's like, "Oi, crikey! Here we go in the bush. We are going to put thumb in butt of random goblin. I'm gonna wrestle him real good, like. Oh, look, he's a fighter. Also, big shout out to Greebolite Brush. Great to see you. Hope you're having a good time as well. I love the Goblin Hunter joke, Lady Altariel. And Nat Geo Wild Narrator PJ. Yes, hire me for your official Nat Geo needs. I can make anything sound classy with a very standard central London? No, British accent. Scold that. Anyway, right. So let's go over so we talked about the society that Paizo has put out there. Now, the Society for the Edge of Legend Goblin is a lot more chaotic. And this is twofold. One, and I'll go on record for saying this, I wanted to break the goblin away from the meme that they're just cats. They are cats that are meant to be rescued and adored and doted on. Nowhere in the history of fantasy and lore is a goblin ever something you want as a pet. They eat babies. And I'm not making that up. They devour children. They kill people. They have a large potential to be your worst enemy. Mm-hmm. So this kind of pacification of them is kind of weird in a sense. It's almost, I feel, what is the word when you make a historical piece but you change it? Reconstructive history? Maybe?
I guess so. Maybe, perhaps.
So kind of one of these goblins that come back to the fold. They are very much, there is a similarity in that they're both pure id. They are all about the chaos of the moment. What is in front of them is the only thing that matters. What happened in the past is forgotten. What will be coming in the future doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. So it's just the thing right in front of you and the emotions you feel right then and there. They have many different tribes, and I don't like the idea that you can paint all people with a single brushstroke. So every tribe is different, and within that tribe, you have different people that prioritize different things. So very much the accent of chaos, creativity, and energy is there, but how they express it and kind of the qualities that they nurture, widely different. Mm-hmm. For example, Goblin Scions. There's a whole group of people that they have dubbed the Bloodthink tribe that worships the idea of goblin science. They believe it is the new way. It is the gift that goblins have been given by Gobulon to create the next, whatever that is.
Interesting that you said you're talking about Gobulon, which is the deity for the goblins in the Edge of Legends world, because the next thing I want to kind of touch on is the alignment and religion of goblin kind. And if you don't mind, I will take it from here.
Oh, please, go right ahead.
Even well-intentioned goblins have trouble following the rules, meaning they're rarely lawful. Most goblin adventurers are chaotic neutral or chaotic good. Organized worship confounds goblins, and most of them would rather pick their own deities, choosing powerful monsters, natural wonders, or anything else they find fascinating. Longshanks might have books upon books about structures of divinity, but to a goblin, anything can be a god if you want it to. Goblins who spend time around people of other ancestries might adopt some of their beliefs, though, and many goblin adventurers adopt the worship of Caden Caladan. I'm pretty sure I mangled that pronunciation a little bit.
Caden Kalian.
Caden. Half
yeah.
mangled.
I believe, well, I might be saying it wrong, but I've always said it as Caden Kalian, or Kaleen, depending on how you want to say it. I forgot, I think their gender is he. He is the god of alcohol consumption, parties, merriment, and that kind of thing. And I absolutely adore his story. And I've definitely kind of twisted it for my own use and ways. His story is that he got super drunk and his friends put him up on a dare to take this test the gods have placed in the world. And no one really knows the details, and the test seems to be different to everyone, you know, a little differently for everyone. So the guy gets so hammered that he goes and takes the test on a dare and completely passes the test. And he wakes up the next day with no memory of the night before, except that now he's the god of wine and drink and merriment.
That really that basically sounds like me back in college.
We all have those days. Yeah. I will say
drink responsibly, kids.
Yes, we don't condone over drinking, but what I will say is
unless you wake up and become a deity, then yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like what happened with Rochelle, goddess of the working woman, the service industry. Like she had a very similar story, but we'll get into that later. Today is not about Rochelle. But yeah, so let's see. So we talked about the alignment and religion. Let's go straight into the mechanics of this class. Just kind of fly by this. Your hit points is a 6. You're small. You're squishy. Your size is small. Your speed is still a 25. That's pretty good. Your ability boosts are Dex and Charisma, and a free boost of your choice. Your flaw is Wisdom. I mean, can you blame them? Your languages are a lot. You speak Common, Goblin, and additional languages equal to your intelligence modifier from a pretty diverse list, considering dragons, dwarves, gnolls, most humanoids, orcish, and you got dark vision.
Yeah. The whole language thing actually makes sense because typically the goblin race, usually they're kind of a servitude race. They're usually working for a more powerful people.
Yeah, I think it kind of goes into that with the description that they're always on the look for a leader, which, you know, it's interesting because like with the goblins from Edge of Legend, I don't want them to be a subservient species, but I feel like the issue isn't that they need a leader, is that they need focus. As someone who was diagnosed with ADHD at 6, let me tell you, having your own focus is hard, but having people around you that can ground your focus is extremely potent.
Yeah.
And I think that's what goblins are, because they're so focused on now and the energy almost in both worlds. Having a leadership infrastructure or any infrastructure is massively dangerous for everyone else who's not a goblin.
Yeah, it's very similar to the kobold race, actually.
Very much so.
You should check out that video because it's, well, one of the videos we've done.
Yes, go check the kobold video. We actually made a very cool kobold NPC. He didn't win the vote to become an NPC in Edge of Legend, but
you never know.
You never know. We'll see. We'll see how life.
Yeah, we never know. We might bring Billy Idol the kobold.
Yeah. Oh God, his name was
Kobold.
His name was Kobold. His name was Kobold the Bard.
Kobold.
Yeah. Goofy dude. So now let's go into the heritages of a goblin, and we can talk about how this may or may not reflect in our world as well. So the first one is called a Char-Hide Goblin. Your ancestors Your ancestors have always had a connection to fire and thicker skin, which allows you to resist burning. You gain fire resistance equal to half your level minimum 1. You can also recover from being on fire more easily. Your flat check to remove persistent fire damage is DC 10 instead of DC 15, which is reduced to DC 5 if another creature uses a particularly appropriate action to help. These are your fighter starters, your wicked fire starter goblins.
Your pyros.
Your pyros, yeah. And I kind of like this. They're so used to being around fire that their bodies have adapted, genetically speaking.
Not unlike a certain investigator, I guess.
Okay, you're used to setting fires. That's a whole different situation.
All right, next up we have the Iron Gut Goblin. You can subsist on food that most people would consider spoiled. You can keep yourself fed with poor meals in a settlement as long as garbage is readily available, without using the subsist downtime activity. You can eat and drink things when you are sickened. You gain a +2 circumstance bonus to saving throws against afflictions against gaining the sickened condition and to remove the sickened condition. When you roll a success on a fortitude save affected by this bonus, you get a critical success instead. All these bonus apply only when the affliction or condition resulted from something you ingested. So basically you can basically eat anything. You're like a goat.
Yeah, you're basically, everything is in your stomach at that point, and it's kind of cool because getting a +2 bonus to saving throws against different afflictions is one of these things that it's extremely niche, but at level 1, getting a +2 to a save is extremely crucial.
Yeah.
Because that could take you from like a +7 in something to almost a +10, depending on how you build your character.
Yeah.
And a plus 10 at level 1 is insane.
Yeah, this Goblin sub, what is it? What are we calling it? Heritage? Mm-hmm. These Goblin Heritage, they're actually, they do very well in those grimdark games where everything is like gritty and honestly, rule-wise, a lot more by the book.
Yeah, and I also feel like this is great. I want to say there's abilities in the game that let you regenerate health by eating bodies. Mm-hmm. This is great if you want to play that creepy, basically that horrible goblin I'm trying to get society back to, which is, yes, they can be good people. Of course, anyone can be a good person, but they still will kill and eat children. That's the focus of the fantasy they came from.
PJ, I'm going to go a little bit dark here.
And you can eat a corpse.
Mm-hmm. PJ, I'm going to go a little bit dark here. Okay. Actually, well, you kind of opened the door already, but would a goblin be considered a cannibal if they eat, like, other races, like their corpses and stuff? Like, if it's not a goblin, if they eat, like, a human, I don't think that's considered cannibalism.
I mean, oh, God, if you want to talk strict definition, I don't think so. I think cannibalism is eating your own species. Because, like, let's be honest, I'm a meat eater. I eat chickens, cows, and pigs and anything. I don't think that makes me a cannibal. It makes me a carnivore, not a cannibal. So I believe the Iron Gut Goblin, if I was to translate that, I feel like that would go well with the there's a group called the Big Bellies. They're kind of epitomized as, like, the hungry goblin. Mm-hmm. They're called the Big Bellies. Some people refer to them as Gobulon's children, or the children of Gobulon. And they're, of course, big descendant bellies, eat a lot. They're just this, that's their id. Their id is this strength and energy through
gluttony,
devouring. Yeah, not so much a sin, because I don't like that idea that this is a sin. For them, it's a focus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess next up is the Razor-Tooth Goblin. Basically, you get a 1d6 piercing damage bite at the start.
Mm-hmm. That's always really good, actually.
Yeah, you have a finesse. The biting mauler jaw is a brawling group finesse and unarmed traits, pretty standard. But having natural weapons is always great, especially for low-level characters that either A, may not have access to weapons, or B, may not have a weapon that actually hits that hard.
Yeah, I would say this heritage works great with either rogues or monk goblins.
Ooh.
Even barbarians, too. Especially barbarians, too, actually.
Flurry of bites. You just grab a hold of them and just go...
Yeah, it's like from Street Fighter, Blanca's grab, where he jumps on you and starts chomping down on you.
Yeah. I would also pitch this to anyone in the chat. If you're going to make a goblin caster, the iconic alchemist is a goblin, or a sorcerer, a goblin sorcerer would be kind of cool. The Razor-Tooth Goblin gives you an amazing opportunity to have all fields of combat accounted for. Long range, spell casting, limited spells, and of course, if you're all tapped out and a cantrip won't do the job, or you're right there, bite them. Just...
All right. Next up, we have the Snow Goblins. You are acclimated to living in frigid lands and have skin hang from sky blue to navy in color. Oh, ranging from sky blue to navy in color, as well as blue fur. You gain cold resistance equal to half your level, minimum 1. You treat environmental cold effects as if they are one step less extreme. Incredible cold becomes extreme cold becomes severe, and so on.
That's right. So when we did the Viking one-shot where they went to the north, you kind of got a little bit of the White Steppe tribe of orcs. Not a lot, because we were pressed for time, and sadly we couldn't hit all the things. But I would imagine if you were to run into goblins, you'd probably find the snow goblins there, and they kind of also adapt the title of the White Steppe tribe, mostly just because it's such a hazardous waste of the freezing cold. There's no real identity, just the need for survival. So when you need to have identity, you go with what you're surviving. Yeah.
I would say also mechanics-wise, having resistance to cold, that's actually a pretty common damage type, actually.
Yeah, at level 1, if you are going to run into something that's not fire, generally speaking, it's cold. Now, I will say this. It sounds like it's also much better suited for a more niche game. Like if you're playing a very cold environment game like, oh god, Reign of Winter, which is a really fun Pathfinder 1 game, this is great for surviving the environments. And that's really the biggest boon there. And next up, the Unbreakable Goblin. And I think I know what they're pulling from with this. This is hilarious. You're able to bounce back from injuries easily. Do an exceptionally thick skull. Cartilage. Hold on.
Cartilage.
Well, it's cartilage, but there's an N there, so it's cartilaginous.
I'm just gonna call it cartilage. Honestly,
I'm gonna say cartilaginous. Right. Thick skull, cartilaginous bones, or some other mixed blessing. You gain 10 hit points from your ancestry instead of 6. When you fall, reduce the falling damage you take as though you had fallen half the distance. This is outstanding.
Yeah.
This is tremendous. Because there's only one, maybe 2 other ancestries that I can think of off the top of my head that get 10 HP for their ancestry at level 1. And now the goblin, who has some of the lowest HP, is now right up there with like dwarves.
Yeah, and also the reducing fall damage. I'm actually wondering, does that stack with the feat? I think it's called cap fall or something, where you also take partial damage from fall damage from now on. So I wonder if those 2 stack and just becomes quarter damage.
Maybe. And what I love about Pathfinder 2nd Edition, what they've done with fall damage is both lethal and easy.
Yeah.
Because in real life, as a human being, there's a certain saying I had to learn with like stunts and falls. 20-foot injury, 30-foot death.
Mm-hmm.
If you're jumping without any assistance or protection at the end of your jump, 2 stories, you are going to have a bone break, and you're going to have to go to the hospital. 30 feet or more, you're basically paced. So in keeping that, Pathfinder 2nd Edition was like, okay, it's flat damage depending on, I think after like 5 or 10 feet, it's just raw distance fallen, and you have that. So if you're level 1, a normal person, and you jump 30 feet, there's a big chance that 15 straight up damage is gonna, or 10, 15 damage is gonna kill you, or at least put you in the hospital.
Also, choosing this heritage, and also if you have cap fall, if it does indeed stack, you could do that Iron Man landing and create like a crater under you.
My knees are killing me.
Yeah.
Oh Lord. Reap Psyche put in the chat, was Reign of Winter the one with Baba Yaga? Yes, it was. Tragically, when I was playing it, we didn't get far. I think we got past the first book of that module. But yeah, it's got Baba Yaga, it's got the Sisters or Daughters of Winter, I forgot their names, and the Black Rider. It's a really cool bit of kind of Ruse lore.
PJ, really quick.
Yes, sir.
There's 2 more heritages for goblins that's in the character guide. Do you want to go through them, or?
Sure, why not? In the character guide, the advanced players or the Lost Omens? Lost Omens, right?
I'm not entirely sure. Like I said, I'm using a tablet, and I have Tail Goblin and Tree Dweller Goblin. So I'll kick things off with the Tail Goblins because they remind me of a certain Monkey King.
I do love monkey goblins.
Yep. You have a powerful tail, likely because you're descended from a community of monkey goblins. You gain a +2 circumstance bonus to athletic checks to climb. You also gain Combat Climber as a bonus feat, and you reduce the number of free hands required to climb or trip by 1. So essentially, you could just trip with your tail.
Yeah, and if you're curious what a monkey goblin looks like, we have yet to find them in Edge of Legend, but if we ever go to the Forest of No Return or the Forest of No Man in Osmicon, we might get blessed by them. But this is what a monkey goblin looks like, and I just, let me get a little higher, or do I have to go a little lower?
Mm-hmm. There we go. Yeah, see it?
Yeah,
it has a little monkey tail.
I love that tail. Anyway, so that's the monkey goblin. And there's, oh man, I lost my page like a moron. There's another one.
Tree Dweller Goblin.
Tree Dweller Goblin. There we go. You have adapted partially particularly well to living in forested environments. As long as you're in a forest or jungle, you get a +2 circumstance bonus to stealth checks to hide and sneak, survival checks to subsist, and your survival DC to cover tracks. That's a +2 to 2 or 3 skill checks with over 6 different choices at level 1. Now, it's a little niche. You have to be in this environment, but that's at level 1, a +2 to 6 different actions is insane.
Honestly, this is a great heritage to pick if you want to play a ranger goblin, I want to say. Or a scout, what is it? A scout, what do you call them? Archetype.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah, Scout archetype could work really well. Also, I love about this book is, besides going into way more ancestries, which we may not cover because this is too much, they also give you some really cool variations physically, or more pictures too. Like, for example, the Razor-Tooth Goblin we already covered. You get to kind of see, this is an example of the Razor-Tooth Goblin, or what the Edge of Legend world calls the Nashi Bite tribe. The Nashi Bites, again, being more violence-focused. They're more of your, they're more your shock troops, your barbarians, the id is all anger and tension and wrath, and when something wrongs you, you have to write it, because it's too deep inside you.
Yeah. All right, should we now move on to the feats?
Yes, let's do that. Let's go into the Goblin Ancestry Feats.
Because the first feat, I believe we have encountered the first feat before.
Well, I don't know if they've done it, but yeah, for sure. The first one's called Burn It!
Oh, I was looking at the other one. All right,
which one are you talking about?
I was talking about Bouncy Goblin.
Oh, I see the issue. The problem with the tablet is you're looking at all of them, and you're looking at the ones for the Lost Omens. I'm going to go over the ones from the core rulebook, because I feel like to do both of them in one show is extremely voluminous.
True.
So let's see. So Burn It, out the gate. Fire fascinates you. Your spells and alchemical items that deal fire damage gain a status bonus to damage equal to half the spell's level, or 1/4 the item's level minimum 1. You also gain a +1 stat bonus to any persistent fire damage you deal. So if you are the Char-Hide Goblin and you get Burn It, you now have a very strong fire-focused character at level 1. Make an alchemist with fire bombs, make a wizard or sorcerer who specializes in fire spells. You have a really good build for a fire bug.
You're essentially Beavis of Beavis and Butthead. Burn it, yeah, burn it.
Yeah, I love how Rick M, the GM, said, burn it, lol. I feel like lol is now the equivalent to Beavis going,
Yeah. Next up, you know what? I know we said we're not going to go through all the Lost Omens feats, but I want to do this one. Please let me do this one.
Go right ahead. I think if you want to, you should.
Bouncy Goblin.
Yes, I saw that. I love it.
Yeah, I want to go with this feat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the prereq is Unbreakable Goblin Heritage. You have a particular elasticity that makes it easy for you to bounce and squish. You gain the trained proficiency rank in acrobatics or another skill of your choice. If you are already trained in acrobatics, or another of your choice if you're already trained in acrobatics. You also gain a +2 circumstance bonus to acrobatic checks to tumble through a foe's space, which, as somebody who been really looking through, crowd control and being able to move on a board, being able to tumble through someone's space at a bonus is extremely useful.
Absolutely. And what I love about Bouncy Goblin is this is a really great throwback to first edition Weeby Goblins. If you've ever played Weeby Goblins, there's this really great racial feat, back when racial feats were a thing. If you were a goblin, that was the only way you could take this feat, and basically your body was just a gigantic gelatinous sponge of mass. So when you fell from high levels, the impact would be considered far less. Your body was basically just this bouncing ball of pain. And they brought it back, not only with the Unbreakable trait, but this other feat that expands upon it. So if you really want to get that old Weepy Goblins feat and put it to a whole other level, go Unbreakable Bouncy Goblin and make yourself a dodge tank as you just bounce around the battlefield, pissing people off.
Or imagine having that with a Monk Goblin.
That could be interesting. The Sacred Order of the Fist of Gobulon.
I was honest. I'm thinking of, for these old school comic book fan, Bouncing Boy from Legion of Superheroes.
Oh God, Bouncy Boy. I'm just, you know what? Hot take, and I don't care who agrees or disagrees. Legion had some of the dumbest superheroes in it. It was the greatest book with the worst heroes. God, Matter Eater Lad.
Arm Fall Out Lad.
Arm Fall Out Lad. I know there was a hindsight
The
lad,
Chloroform Kid.
The clone. No, that's
from the Legion of Substitute Superheroes.
How is that's
a sub-tier down from the Legion of Superheroes.
That's so weird because that's like, oh, these are our substitutes. Boy, that ain't even your B squad. That's your A- squad. That's
Dude, there was
not
a guy
that
called
far
Stone
off.
Boy. His power is he turns into just a stone statue.
Oh my God. I feel like, because here's the ultimate tragedy. The Legion of Superheroes has some of the best and most amazing superheroes, characters, villains. Like, they were the only book I've ever read that redeemed Brainiac, or at least Brainiac 5, like his kid or something. It was good. And then you turn around and here's Jupiter Lad with the power to get really big and really fat. Like, there was no other benefit. He just got fat. Like, what?
Yeah. But why don't we move on to the next feat?
Let's do that, shall we? City Scavenger. You know the greatest treasures often look like refuse, and you scoff at those who throw away perfectly good scraps. You get a +1 circumstance bonus, check to subsist, and you can use society or survival when you subsist in a settlement. When you subsist in a city, you also gather valuable junk that those silly longshanks or double talls threw away. You can earn income using society or survival in the same way as you subsist without spending any additional days of downtime. That's not bad. You also get a +1 circumstance bonus to this check. If you have the Iron Gut Goblin Heritage, this is now a +2. So, think of this as like the Bloodthink tribe. They're very smart, they're very scrappy, they're constantly taking the trash of the world and making it work with ingenuity and desperation. Now you're in the city, you can find food, find money, find housing, find materials to build your bombs at level 1 with a +2 if you're Iron Gut, just for looking around. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Next one is also another one from the Advanced Player's Guide. I want to use it because it tracks with the Bouncing Goblin. This is the extra squishy feat.
Extra squishy.
Yeah, the prereq for this one is Unbreakable Goblin Heritage. Your rubbery physique makes it easier for you to wedge yourself into tight spaces and more difficult for your enemies to dislodge you. You become trained in acrobatics. If you would automatically become trained in acrobatics from your background or class, for example, you instead become trained in a skill of your choice. You roll a success to squeeze, and you also get a critical success instead. While you're squeezing, you gain a +4 circumstance bonus to your fortitude or reflex DC against attempts to shove you or otherwise move you from your space.
So now what's really fun about that is, at level 3, when you take a general feat, if you decide to instead take one more ancestry feat, one more level 1 ancestry feat, you can now have this like completely amorphous goblin who's like, I am indestructible and I'm bouncy.
Oh my god. Would the combination of this, the bouncy, and the extra squishy, this is essentially the Globlins.
You are the Goblin tank. Nothing shall stop your reign of squishiness.
All right, let's move on to the next one.
All right, let me get all my books out. There we go. Goblin Lure. You picked up skills and tales from your goblin community. You've gained the trained proficiency rank in nature and stealth. If you would automatically become trained in one of those skills for your class or background, for example, you instead become trained in a skill of your choice, and you also become trained in the Goblin Lore skill. So this is really cool because this feat gives you 3 skills. no matter what.
Yeah.
And if you are a Goblin Ranger, and maybe you already have Nature and Stealth, you can now pick 2 more. Or if you are a Goblin Alchemist, you can now do things like sneak attack bomb throwing. I don't know why I thought that. I just think that's kind of cool. So yeah, a lot of versatility there.
Yeah, like Goblin Alchemist with this feat makes a lot of sense. And now I'm also thinking about this. A Goblin Alchemist who focuses on mutagens with the Bouncy Goblin and the extra squishy.
Yeah. A Goblin instead of Bloblins, that's right. Yeah. A Goblin or a Bloblin, you know, there's 2 very different nomenclature. You have to get it right.
All right, the next one is Goblin Scuttle. It's a reaction, and the trigger is an ally ends a move adjacent to you. You take advantage of your ally's movement to adjust your position. You step.
This is interesting because this is also a, for lack of a better word, a monster feat. If you ever fight a goblin in the actual bestiary, they get this ability as well. So it's very, very cool that as early as the core rulebook, this is a 2-way street. You can take this ability as well.
Mm-hmm. As somebody who's kind of tactical, I guess you could say, and you're using a map, that extra step can actually be very, very powerful.
Yeah. And speaking of extra step being very powerful, I want to call out something Rick M., the GM, put forth because it's kind of a fun idea. It's nasty. I love it. Goblin Alchemist, the sleight of hand that can plant exploding time bombs on their enemies when using stealth.
Yeah.
Very much so. Imagine if you move up, right, as a group, you kind of stagger it so you can do the Goblin Scuttle, and you're able to, within the whole round, run up to someone, plant a bomb on them with a stealth or sleight of hand check, thievery check, and then you get to move away.
Oh,
so
yeah,
now the
okay.
bomb goes
that
up.
That is 3 actions. Move, let's see, move, plant, sleight of hand, and then move again. 3 actions right there.
Sure, but if you have to make the bomb, like in the moment, you can make the bomb, move up, plant it, and then when the other ally walks up to you, you can use your reaction to get the heck away.
Yeah, and also bombs usually have like an area effect, so honestly, you don't need to plant multiple bombs on someone. You just plant a bomb on one of them and just GTFO.
Yeah, and Reap Psyche also saying reminds him of the Fallout game where you can reverse pickpocket people with mines and grenades to blow them up.
Oh, I remember that. I love doing that.
That's just all the evilness of that game. I love it. Goblin Song. This is another ability we kind of saw when they were trying to sing in that ambush episode, if you remember. It's 1 action, level 1. You sing annoying goblin songs, distracting your foes with silly and repetitive lyrics. Attempt a performance check against the will DC of a single enemy within 30 feet. This has all the usual traits and restrictions of a performance check. You can affect up to 2 targets within that range if you have expert proficiency in performance, 4 with master and 8 with legendary. Critical success. So even on a critical success, the enemy takes a -1 status penalty to perception checks and will saves for a minute. Even on a crit, they're still taking something. Success. The target takes a -1 status penalty to perception. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry, I misread that. If you critically succeed, duh. Let me correct that. When you crit succeed, they take a -1 status penalty to perception checks and will saves for a minute. If you just succeed on their DC, it's a -1 status penalty for 1 round. If you get a critical failure, then they're immune to the song for 1 hour. So, looks like we
Goblin Bard.
Yeah, I was going to say Goblin Bard, out the gate Goblin Bard, or even like a Goblin Caster without having magic. This is a really cool way to be a crowd controller no matter what class you take.
And also, honestly, Goblin Bard, to me, in my head, your traditional Goblin Bard is basically singing sea shanties.
See, I don't know.
It's a Goblin TikToker.
I don't support that theory. I'm not saying I disagree. Okay, I am, but I'm saying that you can do that. I think a Goblin Bard is a goblin banging pots and pans together and shouting just absolute nonsense into the void of reality.
All right. Our next one is Goblin Weapon Familiarity. It's a first level feat. Others might look upon them with disdain, but you know that the weapons of your people are as effective as they are sharp. You're trained with the Dog Slicer and Horse Chopper. In addition, you gain access to all uncommon goblin weapons. For the purpose of determining your proficiency, martial goblin weapons are simple weapons, and advanced goblin weapons are martial weapons.
That is really awesome, especially if through some barrier of insanity, I kind of want to see this happen, a goblin cleric or a goblin cleric to Gobulon, whose like holy weapon is the dog slicer or the horse chopper. Because if those are simple or martial, if they're simple weapons like the dog slicer would be at this point, then they get one dice level higher. And I just love the idea of a goblin pulling out a dog slicer with the holy symbol of Gobulon. Spoilers, there isn't one. They don't know what their own god's like. And also spoilers, Gobulon is not his actual name. That's what the goblins called him because they were aware that they have a creator, but they don't know anything else. He literally took a crap on the earth, made goblins, and left. And so the goblins are like, oh, crap lord. Thank you for this gift of life. We thank you for the feces. And they just call him Gobulon. They don't know his name. So just pulling out a sword and going, for Gobulon! And this dog slicer just wrecking house because it's a holy weapon.
Yeah, that pretty much, yeah, that's in line with the whole goblin culture, really, when they can worship anything.
Yeah, you know, and I do, and even then, if they do worship anything, they could worship non-goblin entities or goblin entity.
All right.
It's fascinating. I think it's kind of cool. Anyway, Junk Tinker. You can make useful tools out of even twisted or rusted scraps. When using the crafting skill to craft, you can make level 0 items, including weapons, but not armor, out of junk. This reduces the price to 1/4 the usual amount, but always results in a shoddy item. Shoddy items normally give a penalty, but you don't take this penalty when using the shoddy items that you've made. You can also incorporate junk to save money while you craft any item. This grants you a discount on the item as if you'd spent one additional day working to reduce the cost. But the item is obviously just made of junk. At the GM's discretion, this might affect the item's resale value depending on the buyer's tastes. This is awesome because if this isn't goblin science, I don't know what the hell is.
Pretty much, yeah.
This is tremendous. This is also, for those of you who know 40K, this is also orc logic. If I believe this sword cuts, this sword cuts. If it chops, it chops. Like,
yeah, and this is a feat that honestly, Goblin Alchemists and even Goblin Investigators or Goblin Rogues should take a real serious think about taking.
Absolutely, and I'm loving the text in the chat. Talking about horse choppers. Could the goblin god be Rovagob? Rick, I'm the GM. You get a hero point at your table to use whenever you want to. You're the GM, probably, judging by your name, so who's going to argue? Reap Psyche said, I was just writing Orc Tech. Yes.
There you go.
Absolute Orc Tech.
All right. Our next one is Rough Riders. What kind? Attention, Rough Riders! Rico's Rough Riders! I just had it, I was thinking about that when I saw it. But you are especially good at riding traditional goblin mounts. You gain the ride feat, even if you don't meet the prereq. You gain a +1 circumstance bonus to nature checks to use command on animal, or a goblin dog or wolf mount. You can always select a wolf as your animal companion, even if you would usually select an animal companion with the mount special ability, such as for a champion steed ally.
Ooh, if I'm reading this right, this is very exciting. For 1 feat at level 1, not only do you get the ability to ride something, which you wouldn't get probably at all at this point, but you can have a mount already from this, which is a wolf or a dog, which are pretty good mounts, especially when you're small, and you can basically ride almost anything. But furthermore, these aren't just mounts for the sake of mounts, they're animal companions as well. So now, for 1 feat, you get access to a skill, with a limited bonus, but a skill nonetheless. You get a mount, and you get an animal companion that can fight with/for you. You get 3 things for the price of 1. Now, if you just worship Goblin, the great lord and savior of all feces, and the goblins, and then you take Cavalier as an archetype, you can be the Goblin Knight, Jouster Supreme.
Yeah.
Long may your warg be victorious.
Ooh, I'm already thinking of an idea of playing a Goblin Knight now.
I kind of like the goofiness.
Yeah. Honestly, next one-shot, a Goblin Knight might be one of my forerunners.
Yeah, we'll have to sit down and talk about Goblin and be like, okay, so here's what you think your god is like. Let's go from there. And Reap Psyche said, Reap Psyche, you get a hero point because I love them. Corgi. Oh, the breadloaf dog. Man, seeing a goblin ride the Corgi would be the silliest abilities. I couldn't handle it.
Oh, I just thought of something. Wait, never mind. I was going to say, there was a feat that you could take other ancestry feats, but I think that's only humans.
Yeah, I think humans can take one from... It's limited. I don't think they can reach across the entire gamut, but there is a lot of feats that let you take.
Yeah, because I was going to say, what if a gnome could take this feat? A certain hick gnome in our game could ride their animal badger companion.
Now, that's very true, although I've been talking with Ian and going over the animal companion rules. In theory, I think once you guys get to level 4, it's either 4 or 8, Mush is going to change a little bit, and at that point, that may be possible.
Mush has been eating a lot of buns lately, so that could be an explanation.
He's getting thick with gooey buns.
Yeah.
Next up, the last level 1 feat from the core rulebook, and as much as I'd love to go into the other books for goblins, we'd be here all damn day.
Yeah.
And we got orcs to cover. So, very sneaky. Taller folk rarely pay attention to the shadows at their feet, and you take full advantage of this. You can move 5 feet farther when you take the sneak action up to your speed. That's really good, because normally when you sneak, it's about half. In addition, as long as you continue to use sneak actions and succeed at your stealth check, you don't become observed if you don't have cover or greater cover and aren't concealed at the end of the sneak action, as long as you have cover or greater cover or are concealed at the end of your turn. This makes it so that you can hit and run sneak attacks like a mother at level 1. 1.
Ooh, this is honestly, if you're going Goblin Rogue, you're taking this.
Yeah.
You're going to want to take this.
Yeah, you can take, I'm just thinking, you can take either the Unbreakable Goblin or the Razor-Tooth Goblin, take very sneaky, rogue. Now, if we're in Adelphon Prime, for example, and you're one of the goblins that was placed there as, an ambush attack, 10 episodes or more ago, you could just, literally run through people's legs and just sneak attack them and just run to the next one.
Oh, God, I'm just thinking, you're sneaking through people's legs, and you're just punching upwards toward their groin. Bong! That is a sneak attack.
It is. No, I was gonna say, when I was learning knife fighting, we had an attack called tapping the bucket. It's where you do basically a low strike coming up to the perineum in between the legs, basically, if you will, pardon the language, the taint. And the reason for that is because that is the biggest epicenter of blood flow between the 2 massive arteries of your body, the legs and the heart, and things like that. That all the blood pools there as it's moving through, and because the landscape of flesh is so awkward and uneven, once you hit the perineum with a blade and pierce through, the bleeding doesn't stop.
Ooh, I'm already thinking about it.
We call it tapping the bucket for a reason, because just the blood comes out and it don't stop. And you can probably be dead from blood loss, I want to say, within a minute to 3 minutes, depending on adrenaline and how fast they get you off your feet, apply pressure to the wound. You're not going to get the chance to really survive going to the hospital.
I'm going to use that in game for my next crit.
You're going to stab them in the butt with a whip.
The taint.
The taint.
Right.
Let's go with the 5th level ancestry feat from the core rulebook. There's more in these other books, but we'll be here all day. And there's only one at 5th level, so it's easy to cover.
It's the Goblin Weapon Frenzy. You should prereq take the Goblin Weapon Familiarity if you want to get this feat. You know how to wield your people's vicious weapons. Whenever you score a critical hit using a Goblin weapon, you apply the weapon's critical specialization feat.
Yeah, and weapon specialization effects are really, really cool, and they don't really get to get covered much because they're kind of hard to get into. Usually certain fighter classes, by that I mean melee classes, will get these, but not right away. I believe the actual fighter class does get it very early on. But what I like about this is that level 5, you're going to have to take an ancestry feat anyway. And if you've built that rogue, if you've built that fighter, if you built that whatever, goblin, you now get this ability as part of your ancestry kind of for free. And this opens up a whole new possibility of effects that you can hit on people. Like, I think for daggers, there's like persistent bleed damage, or there's like certain weapons give insane amount of knockback just because you crit for free. It's really nice.
Yeah.
9th level ancestry feats from the core rulebook. Maybe one day we'll go in the deep dive with everything else, but there's a lot.
Yeah, I'm looking through it right now.
Yep. Cave Climber. After years of crawling and climbing through caverns, you can climb easily anywhere you go. You gain a climb speed of 10 feet. And this is really awesome because a lot of GMs play with the rule that if you don't have a climb speed, you don't really have one. I'm not a fan of that. I feel like it's very easy to kind of assert that here's my athletics check, here's my regular speed. Can we figure something else out? But for those that are very big sticklers on the climbing rules, it's a free climb movement for any class combination you can think of. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
All right. Next up is Skittering Scuttle. It's a level 9 feat. You have to have Goblin Scuttle as a prereq. You can scuttle further and faster when maneuvering alongside allies. When you use Goblin Scuttle, you can stride up to half your speed instead of stepping. Wow. Seriously, take this, and you're a Goblin Monk, you're just moving all over the battlefield right there.
That's a good point. Lots of mobility with that. And I think as a creature or as a person with a starting HP of 6 before class and Constitution, you want to be hitting and running all over the place as best you can.
Yeah, you're that dodge tank.
Yeah, especially with the HP, if you get the Unbreakable Goblin.
Mm-hmm.
All right, level 13. We're almost done with the Goblin, and then we'll be moving on to the big ORC. At level 13, the Goblins get Goblin Weapon Expertise. You have to have the Goblin Weapon Familiarity from before. Your Goblin Affinity blends with your class training, granting you great skill with Goblin weapons. Whenever you gain a class feature that grants you expert or greater proficiency in a given weapon or weapons, you also gain that proficiency in the Dog Slicer, Horse Chopper, and all Goblin weapons in which you are trained. So if you make a Goblin Fighter, first of all, bananas, but also think about that from a cultural perspective. You now get to show the world the might of the children of Gobulon, or in case of other lore, Magubliet, or something silly like that. You get to show how really, really cool Goblin warfare is. I like that. I like that a lot.
Oh, I just imagine take this as a Goblin swashbuckler.
Ooh. But instead of like a rapier, you're still using a dog slicer.
Yeah. You're kind of like Porthos from the Three Musketeers. One of my favorite stories.
I love Porthos too. I now am loving the mental image of a goblin swashbuckler with a dog slicer who took the Goblin Song.
Yeah.
So as they're fighting people, they're just annoying everyone. And you can probably
fully confident and slightly arrogant.
And the best part is, if I'm not mistaken, there are swashbuckler archetypes where you get your panache from performance checks.
Yeah.
So you're stacking performance, you're stacking panache on top of a massive AoE debuff and being able to use this dog slicer at the pinnacle of prowess. That's kind of a fun marriage. I like
Honestly,
that.
now it's Goblin Knight or Goblin Swashbuckler now on the forefront for me.
Yeah, this is really, really cool. And the best thing about this is that I would never in a million years be tempted to make a Goblin Knight or a Goblin Pirate Swashbuckler princess. You choose the word that works for you. But now it sounds kind of fun. There's a lot of
Yeah.
interesting things we can put on
Yeah.
this. I like it.
All
I like
right,
it a lot.
next up, we have a level 13 feat called Very, Very Sneaky. How do I say it in Rufa's voice? Very. The prereq is very sneaky. You can move up to your speed when you use the sneak action, and you no longer need to have cover or greater cover to be concealed to hide or sneak. Yeah, if you're going Goblin Rogue, going Goblin Ranger, or even Goblin Investigator, and you got that very sneaky feat, double down with the very, very sneaky feat.
I have to break for a little bit just because that title reminds me. One of my friends back east and I had this inside joke from Mr. Deeds. If you remember the Adam Sandler tour de force of Mr. Deeds, the butler would be like, "I'm very sneaky, sir." "Oh, you snuck up on me." "Yes, sir. I'm very, very sneaky." So he's like, I believe you are underestimating the sneakiness, sir." So that's this goblin. But also, this is a great, what I call FU pay me skill. Like, if the GM's like, "Oh, you can't do that because X, Y, and Z mechanic," you can go, "Bow, look at that. It don't matter.
Boom.
FU pay me. I'm invisible." Like, I mean, you're not invisible, but you're hidden. And it's like, what? That's so cool.
Yeah, Lady Arturel, all the swashbucklers.
Oh, the buckle swashes. Yeah, so that is Goblin. There's so much more, and I highly recommend if you want to see the other cool things goblins can do. Obviously, these guys got it. But
the advanced player's guide and the Lost Omens character guide. If you want to check out the other stuff.
And
it's
eventually,
honestly, this entire show will be 2 hours long.
Oh God,
with just goblins. If we went through every single one of them.
And that's also a good sign, though, if you think about it, because like goblins again, like. Yes, I don't think they should be the memes that we've treated them as, like, the cats that we have to rescue, but they also shouldn't by any means be limited. And this opens up a whole possibility of goblin play.
Yeah, no, seriously. I really want to play either a Goblin Knight or Goblin Swashbuckler at this point.
Yeah. Reap Psyche, I saw you in that chat. I'm stealing that idea. That idea is now stolen. It is now my property. I've stolen it. Reap Psyche has said they learned about being a swashbuckler, and so they're absolutely covered in buckles. Yes.
It's like a Rob Layfield comic.
Yeah. Oh.
Instead of pouches, it's just buckles.
Yeah. I love the idea of a pouch, a swash poucher. Just like, haha, I'm covered in pouches. Anyway, so now we're going to shift gears to, I think, what will be the more intriguing and meaty part, for lack of a better word, the ORC, the Orc. Funny fact about orcs, you may or may not know this, you wonderful chat, you absolute legends, you. But orcs did not exist in any part of fantasy, lore, or mythology until invented entirely by J.R.R. Tolkien. And they were not even the green-skinned monstrosities we thought they were. They were instead a corruption, a mutated disambiguation of the elves themselves, so ugly and twisted that they became that they were not allowed to really be thought of as elves. They were orc. And then the Urukai, which is basically like the super orc, the proto best orc, is kind of the basis for what all orcs in fantasy are. And here's the craziest thing. None of that's copywritten.
Yeah.
None of it. We can do whatever we want with it. God bless you, J.R.R. Tolkien, for giving us the gift of the orc.
All right. Do you want to read the flavor or should I?
I will read the flavor of the orc.
All right.
Hopefully my accent for what I'm about to choose is not indecipherable, because I'm going to do it in the voice of Korokos. Orcs are forged in the fires of violence and conflict, often from the moment they are born. As they live lives that are frequently cut brutally short, orcs revel in testing their strength against worthy foes, whether by challenging a higher-ranking member of their community for dominance, or raiding a neighboring settlement. Many orcs seek glory as soon as they can walk and carry a blade or club, taming wild beasts or hunting deadly monsters. I hope you heard any of that. It's hard with the accent.
Basically, you're a big green.
Yeah, you're a double tall mean green. You are a big old badass.
If you want to play, basically, you might want to play an orc if you're eager to prove your strength in a physical contest, and also believe that lies and treacheries are both for those who lack strength to seize what they want, and you want to die in glorious combat.
Glory in combat. Now, some see you as violent or lacking in discipline, or potentially they underestimate your intellect, cunning, and knowledge. But they will always admire your forthrightness and blunt honesty. And before we go anywhere else, this needs to be stated within the confines of Paizo, of Pathfinder 2nd Edition. This is an uncommon ancestry. So if you're GM and you are having kind of this problematic come to terms of being allowed to use this ancestry, half orc is amazing. Half orc is all of this but more applicable. This is going to be very cool, but because you are playing something that everyone's afraid of, it's going to be hard to work it into the story. So consider that moving forward.
Just clear with your GM first before you play the orc.
Absolutely. But these are some absolute badasses. And so are half orcs. So if you're like, man, I just really want to play this like Conan the Barbarian-esque mother trucker. Oh, that's right. The orc exists.
Or if you're a fan of World of Warcraft orcs, boom, there you go.
Also true, if you want to take Paizo's system and play World of Warcraft the tabletop with their deep lore and everything else, I mean, you could play 4th edition, but I also recommend using this and just get all the kicks and giggles as you shout, "For the Horde!" as you just run around smashing face.
All right. For the society, if you want an example of the Paizo Society for the orcs, this is a very long one.
Very long, yeah.
I'm just going to read the first 2 paragraphs. How about that?
I think that's a solid introduction.
All right. Most orc communities define themselves through 2 things, pain and glory. Each earns respect in near equal measure as long as the pain is borne with stoicism. An orc with many scars who walks uncomplaining with a broken leg draws as much admiration as one who wins a great victory on the battlefield. Power in an orc hold comes from strength or family lineage. The structure leads to be feudal, with weaker orcs working at the behest of the strong. The hold of Belzen is the largest such society, and power changes hands there quite quickly. One mighty orc dying in battle can shake up an entire power structure, leading to squabblings and duels to decide control. Many orcs who, tired of being subservient, split off to form their own war bands and travel to new territories.
Yes, lots of chaos. Speaking of which, good thing Pengu isn't here. She'd have an aneurysm about his hordes. Yes, but that's because she's a dirty, filthy Alliance sympathizer and scum. I don't care. I like both sides. Yes, no, I love the kind of lore that they're pitching with these orcs. This idea of they're trying to fight for one infrastructure, but they cannot agree. And they're at odds between what their culture says they have to do and what they know they need to do. That is a very interesting thing, and it kind of gets covered a little bit in our world, but on in a different way. It's
strength through arms, and at least in the Paizo version, they're very distrustful of arcane and occult magic, but they're still okay with divine magic because it's essentially from their gods or their ancestors.
Yeah, the Orc God in this lore is at least with like the main assumed deity. I think it's Groomsh, the one-eyed. And so they really take a lot of identity from that god, and they take a lot of power from that. So it is plausible to have a religious orc.
Yeah, like a spiritualist or like a shaman.
Absolutely. But now let's break them down mechanically. Remember, we did say this is an uncommon ancestry to choose, so once you get that chosen, this is one of the other classes this is the other ancestries in the game that come with 10 hit points.
Yep.
So you're hardy like a dwarf.
They're beefy boys.
Oh, they're beefy boys. Speed of 25. They're medium. Of course, their ability boost is going to be strength. They get 1 strength and 1 free boost. So they're kind of limited in their boosts, but that's also because they have no flaws. So they balance that out by, instead of giving you 3, like what the Goblin got, you only get 2. Languages, they actually speak a surprisingly amount. They have Common and Orcish, and then they can speak anything from Goblin to different giant languages to even Undercommon. So you now have an interesting Diplomancer possibility. And of course, they have Dark Vision, because everyone's got to have Dark Vision.
Yeah. Except for Rufa.
The only human in the group.
All right, let's now move on to Orc Heritages.
Yes.
The first one is your Badlands Orc. You come from a sun-scorched Badlands where long legs and ability to withstand the elements help you thrive. You can hustle twice as long while exploring before you have to stop, and you treat environmental heat effects as if they were one step less extreme. Incredible heat becomes extreme heat becomes severe, and so forth.
Next up, you have the Deep Orc. Your calloused hands and red eyes speak to a life spent in the deep darkness of mountain caverns, where you learn to battle on rocky cliffs and survive with minimal resources. You gain the Terrain Expert skill feat for underground terrain and the Combat Climber skill feat. 2 feats. Not bad.
Not too bad. Not too shabby.
Almost knock something over.
Yeah. All right. Next up is the Hold Scarred Orc. You are part of an orc community that participates in ritual scarification or tattooing. The marks on your skin show your exceptional hardiness and vitality. You gain 12 hit points from your ancestry instead of 10. You also gain the Die Hard feat. This is really good. You're already among the highest HP ancestry, and now you get 2 extra hit points. On top of that, you get the Die Hard feat, which, you're gonna stick around for a while.
Oh yeah, out the gate, you're a tremendous tank.
Yeah.
So I didn't mean to overstep
the epitome of beefy boy.
Yeah, I mean, let's just do a little bit of fun here, just for the sake of math and giggles. If you take the Hold Scarred Orc Barbarian with the highest con the game will allow, level 1 and 18, that means level 1 you have, give me some minute, I'll do some math, 28 HP at first level and the Die Hard feat for free, so you can last one round longer of dying before you absolutely are dead. You have almost 30 HP in 5 rounds before you knock off. And the Die Hard feat is a major general feat. This thing's insane.
Yeah. Honestly, this is one of the strongest heritages for orcs, honestly, compared to the, 1, 2, 3, 4. Of the 5 different orc heritages, I feel this is the strongest one. Numbers-wise.
Yeah, hands down, it's so good because everything else is nice, might be a little niche, but this is undeniable. And what I also want to say is that the orcs in Edge of Legend practice a ritual scarification because their god, their Gorm is the father of scars. So they scar themselves to be like their god. So this really works with a lot of the lore for Edge of Legend orcs. If you want to play, Korokos or Zanakin, Zaka, Tokaro Ice, all of those characters, Hold Scar Orc out the gate. You can be any one of them that you feel apply to you.
But there's still one more orc heritage. Why don't you Let us know about that one, PJ.
All right, last one, the Rainfall Orc. And again, this is all from this book. As more materials come out, more will be added. It's going to be amazing. The Rainfall Orc. You were born in a rainforest with only tangles of trees providing protection from torrential rainstorms and flash floods. You've learned to move adeptly through jungle terrain and resist the various ailments common in human environs. You get a +2 bonus to athletics checks to climb or swim, and a +1 bonus to saving throws against disease. So you are, again, it's niche, but at level 1, tremendous. You're going to be using athletics for everything anyway.
Yeah.
You're going to be using it to get a little more.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, this would be my number 2. This is my number 2 heritage.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Absolutely.
Now let's check out the Orc Feats. And we're going to start off with the Beast Trainer at level 1. You have an impressive innate ability to tame and command ferocious beasts. You become trained in the nature skill and gain the train animal skill feat.
That's not bad. You basically get to not really have an animal companion, but you can make one.
Yeah, this would be really good as an orc druid. Oh man, imagine an orc druid and just transforming using your wild shape ability into a T-Rex.
Oof. Something I do want to mention, this is a very, very cool note here. I'm going to read the next one in a bit, but this should be said. The Orc Ancestry Feats that we're about to cover are all Orc Ancestry Feats, but if you don't like those, you can also check out the Half-Orc Ancestry Feats. They will still apply to you. So if you want to, you can just take them from the core rulebook. So really good. The next feat is called Iron Fists. Your fists have been forged by battle. Your naturally tough skin and dense bone further hardened by conflict. Your fist unarmed attack no longer has the non-lethal trait and gain the shove weapon trait. So now you're punching to kill, and if you hit hard enough, you can just knock that sucker back.
Yeah, this is if you want to play a monk, but you don't want to play the monk class.
Ooh, you can take the Iron Fist, get a little bit of fighter levels, right? And then you take the martial artist archetype.
Yeah,
so
or I was going to say take the rogue sneak attack and the bully racket.
Oh, yeah.
So sneak attack, unarmed sneak attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, them punches to the taint.
So what I love about that is that, sorry, Bruce Lee, I didn't mean to summon your name in this horrible conversation, but like now you get this ability to get this orc that is just a powerhouse of martial conflict without the fluff and the lore and the key that a monk would get. You're like, I don't want to be doing animal stances. I don't want to worry about all that. I just want to have big old hands, and I want to just beat people to death.
And just punch them in the taint.
Yep. I'm sensing a theme for today's episode.
Yeah.
All right. Why don't you cover Orc Lore?
All right. Orc Lore. Level 1 feat. The Hold Elders taught you your elders taught you your people's history, told tales of great athletic feats, and shared with you the hardships your ancestors endured so you can pass this wisdom down to future generations. You become trained in athletics and survival. If you would automatically become trained in one of those skills from your background or class, for example, you instead become trained in a skill of your choice. You also become trained in Orc Lore.
And again, specific lores, special lores, always good. I wanna do a quick reading here, because first of all, everyone making jokes about the Orc Bard, the Diplomancer, the Diplo Skull Crusher. I love it. I love the idea. You could totally be an orc who's like, yes, me feel this negotiation has reached an aggressive climatic conclusion. But also Maynard for the win. I'm going to read this because I think it's amazing. He put up, I'm just imagining a version of Lord of the Rings, where Aragorn is just super partially outward jealous of Gimli and Legolas being able to see in the dark, like any human in a campaign would be, where everyone else has dark vision but you. And he continues to say he can't see in the dark. What your elf eyes see? Yeah? What does your dumbass eye see, Legolas? Mine can't see anything. Thanks for asking. Man. But without further distraction, the last level 1 feat in the advanced rulebook. Yeah. Tusks. You have particularly long, jagged tusks, perfect for tearing meat from bone. You gain tusks as an unarmed attack that deals 1d6 piercing damage, so like the Goblin Bite. Your tusks are brawling, finesse, and unarmed. You can only take this feat at first level, and you can't retrain out of this feat. You can retrain out of this feat only through drastic measures, such as breaking or filing your tusks. So, you get a free natural weapon, always good, you're always armed. But what's really fun is the fact that they demand you earn the right to remove this trait.
Yeah, actually, honestly, that's a really good story point. If you start off with the tusk, and down the line you want to train out, that's a way to get for the GMs and the player to have a really good story moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's cool about this is that this can be chosen, this can be accepted, and this can be taken away. Like, you could be an orc and like, you know what, these tusks suck. Like, I can't use them in battle. Everywhere I go, people call me a monster. I'm just done with this. And you break them, kind of like how Hellboy broke off his horns.
Yeah.
Or you get into a fight and someone critically hits you, bam, and they just shatter one of your fangs or one of your tusks, and you're like, I'm not just having one goofy fang. I'm going to cut the other one off.
Or I also like the idea of a orc who's kind of maybe he was raised in like a human community or something, and he became a wizard. So you're playing against type there, who files down his tusk to appear more human-like. Like you said, the Hellboy trope.
Yeah. So there's a lot of really fun stuff. Or you could have like just an absolute, like, you're about to die. You got Die Hard. You're in like turn 5 or whatever, and you have all 3 hero points. You look to your GM and you're like, nope, Zaka isn't going down that easily. I'm going to cash all 3 of these in, and I'm going to do it like at the expense of I got beat up so bad, like half my teeth fell out, including my tusks.
Yeah.
Like, if a GM says, no, I don't want to do that, then you got yourself a GM who doesn't care about your feelings. That's an awesome story.
All right. Now we're going to move on to the level 5 feats, which starts off with the Athletic Might. Surviving in hostile terrain has given you a great talent for mobility. When you roll a success on athletic checks to climb or swim, you get a critical success instead. Excuse me.
Nice. It's good.
Yeah, and honestly, if you're an orc, you're probably going to be at least trained in athletics.
Yeah, if you can. Although you never know. Maybe you want to go harshly against type, and you're like, I'm a wizard. I have all these int-based and wisdom-based skills. I took acrobatics. So you never know. But it's a smart move. Bloody blows. Your lethal unarmed attacks leave bloody gouges or cause severe internal bleeding. When you critically hit with a strike using an unarmed attack that isn't non-lethal, is lethal, the target takes 1d4 persistent bleed damage. This can be because you're taking the penalty to use a fist for a lethal attack, or because you have an unarmed attack without the non-lethal trait due to Iron Fists, Tusks, or a similar ability. So if you do take Iron Fists and Martial Artist and Fighter, you can now basically just like knife jab someone in the ribs really hard, breaking a rib and causing them internal bleeding.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
All right, next one is the Hold Mark. Level 5 feat. You bear scars or tattoos enhanced by the mark of your community's powerlessness. When you select this feat, choose one of the options in the following page. When you critically hit using a weapon of the listed group, you apply the weapon's critical specialization effect. You gain a large brand or tattoo in the shape of the chosen emblem or similar image. For example, the axe could be a bear or other symbol of ferocious strength, while the shield might be a turtle or another symbol associated with strong defense and gain the listed benefits. Axe, an axe or pick. Shield, hammer or shield. A torch, bomb or knife. I like that, the last one. You're skilled in a bomb.
Hey, man, like, goblins can't have all the science.
True.
I love this because, like, one of the things I think is really great is allowing, I guess, performative flexibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you are given an ability that says, this thing creates this benefit. I hate it when it's always, but it has to be this thing. If all I'm really getting is this benefit, why does the cosmetics matter, right?
True.
I'm getting the benefit regardless. So I love that they're saying, like, hey, you don't have to get a giant, like, Chad tattoo of an axe on your arm with, like, a tribal band. It could be anything, so long as you know I'm choosing the axe and I'm getting those benefits. Sorry, my brain. Unready schedule, have to sleep. All right, go to sleep. Maynard for the win. Awesome to see you in the chat as always. Sleep well, and I'll see you next time. 9th level ancestry feats, we have Death's Drums, which sounds really cool. Your life has been spent challenging death itself. In proximity to that implacable foe only makes your heart beat harder. When you are taking persistent damage or your wound value is 1 or greater, you get a +2 bonus to fortitude saving throws. So get hit, get crit, son.
That's going to be on a t-shirt.
Yep, I'm down for that to be on a t-shirt.
All right. Next up, we have Undying Ferocity. Level 9 feet. The prereq is Orc Ferocity. You resist death clutches with supernatural vigor. When you use Orc Ferocity, you gain temporary hit points equal to your level. Which, honestly, you're that really super tough Orc heritage. On top of that, you're a barbarian Orc, and you are not gonna stay down.
I remember in the earlier episodes, there was a few orcs, and I was really trying to play hard by the rules of the Orc Ferocity, and it was tough because you guys would be against like 3 orcs, and one of them just would not die because every time you killed him, he made the roll, just got back up and kept raging until you had to overwhelm his wound value until he just couldn't get back up again. But you get Undying Ferocity, Orc Ferocity, Die Hard from the Hold Scarred ability. You're running at least 3 to 4 extra rounds after you died before you straight up die completely.
Yeah, this is a feat you want if you're somewhere in a little town called Daltonshire.
I mean, if they don't just take your head off right away or eat you alive, but still, oh my god. I think I'm gonna have to play an Orc Barbarian one day just to sit back and go, this is busted. This is straight busted.
This is with all these like stay alive feats. This is the nope build.
Yep. Yeah, this is the Deadpool build. You thought I was dead, but I'm not. Mm-hmm. All right, next up, Ferocious Beasts, feat level 13. Is that me?
Yeah.
Awesome. Prerequisites: Beast Trainer, Animal Companion, Orc Ferocity, one of those. Since ancient times, the mightiest orc beast tamers would draw on the true fighting spirit of their companion beasts by feeding the creatures a draft incorporating the orc's own blood. Animal companions or bond animals you have gain the Orc Ferocity feat, and they gain a reaction that they can use only for Orc Ferocity. Oh, no. If you have the Undying Ferocity Ancestry feat, all animal companions or bonded animals also have gained the benefits of this feat when using the Orc Ferocity action.
Druid, man. Orc Druid.
I got something else for this. This is the Red Rock tribe to a T, especially their Griffin riding champions, which I will be more than happy to discuss during the Q&A after we're done with this and take a 5. Why don't you talk about the Spell Devourer?
Oh, yeah. I've been eyeing this one. The prereq for Spell Devourer is pervasive superstition.
Yeah.
There is a note here that says the temporary hit points granted by Spell Devour Orc Ancestry Feat are applied as soon as the character succeeds at their saving throw for an effect that causes hit point damage on a successful save, such as a fireball. This means that the character gains the temporary hit points before taking damage. Alright. You don't resist magic, you devour it. Whenever you succeed at a saving throw against a spell or magical effect, you gain temporary hit points equal to double the spell's level, or equal to the level if the magical effect isn't a spell. These temporary hit points last until the end of your next turn. This feat is just so anime. This is an anime feat.
This is a fairy tale feat.
Yeah.
And I love this because what I love is that they've made it very clear. If you're fighting a caster, this is extremely potent. If you're fighting a dragon and they're using Dragon Breath, it still works. Not as well, because let's be honest, if you can be immune to Dragon Breath, that's it. Game over. Everything's done. Go home. But that's amazing, though. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
How is the Orc 13 level feats better than, like, most things we've covered?
Yeah, most ancestries. Like, honestly, most ancestry feats are just...
Yeah, they're like, oh, that's a nice little...
Yeah.
I think it's because when they built the orcs, they're uncommon, so of course they're going to be a little more better than most ancestries, mechanically speaking. But on top of that, they built their ancestry with a very specific game plan in mind, and that is to kill them first before they kill you, and here's the abilities to do that.
I'm actually now wondering if I could... Okay, this is a skill tree that you have to really dedicate yourself, because there's, I believe 2 prereqs in the skill tree, which is Orc Superstition and
Pervasive Superstition.
Because I was thinking, a human can take on this skill tree, but it is a dedication.
Well, looking at the Spell Devourer, I just see that the only thing you need is Pervasive Superstition. Is that like an errata?
Persuasive Superstition, you'd still need Orc Superstition to get that.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so you have to really dedicate yourself to going down the skill tree.
Yeah.
For like 3 levels.
And I believe all of those things are in the half orc
rulebook.
Yeah, the half orc feats that you can take from because you are full orc. So last but not least, now after this we're going to take our quick 5 and come back for a little 30-minute Q&A. But the last feat of the orcs is something called Rampaging Ferocity. At level 17, you have to have the Orc Ferocity feat, which it's amazing. Get it. The trigger is you use Orc Ferocity. Use it. It's amazing. The ability, you lash out viciously, even as you fend off death. Make a single melee strike. If this strike brings a foe to 0 hit points, this activation of Orc Ferocity doesn't count against its frequency. If you kill someone, you got to do so for free. You didn't have to waste your power. You don't have to waste the wound count. You just kill them for free.
I mean, who doesn't like a freebie?
That's at 17. That's at 17. That explains it. Because, like, imagine if you're a certain barbarian on Edge of Legends, you can crit and kill something pretty easily. Now imagine, by some crazy miracle, they've just completely zeroed out your HP. And with your last dying breath, you swing your axe upward, and you just clip them through the waist. They break in half, and blood just pours all over you. You haven't wasted your Orc Ferocity. That was just a given. So if someone else decides to piss you off, you can just get back up and then kill them. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So on that amazing bombshell of how awesome orcs are, which if you want to swing with axe harder than anyone else swing with axe, pick up the orc, my God. Or if you want to be an anti-spellcaster, go down that skill route to becoming the Spell Devourer, and then you're like a sorcerer that other spellcasters can't touch. That's awesome.
All right, really quick. Between the orc and the goblin,
Ooh, that's a good question. So the Goblin has some very, very fun capabilities as far as being surprisingly tanky and incredibly stealthy. Everything else is just kind of fun, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I will admit the Goblin Swashbuckler sounds
Really fun.
surprising. It sounds really fun to play, especially with your panache and your performance. But I mean, if you want to be the Terminator,
if you want to just be the breaker of worlds, you want to Hulk it out.
Orc Barbarian is just, I mean, it's a cliche, but they've just made this cliche necessary.
Yeah.
Oh, it's too necessary.
Yeah. So you're gonna say, PJ, you're saying you're on the Orc side on this.
You know what? I think it depends on how silly I'm feeling. If I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be doing big damage. I don't want to be this tank. I just want to have fun and role play and stab a few people. I'm going to go Goblin Swashbuckler. That's amazing. But if I'm like, the party needs a tank. The party needs a frontline god killer. Death kind of sucks. I'll be back. And I'm just going to orc with my orc friends.
True,
and it's going to be insane.
Honestly, for me, I'm going to have to go with the Goblin Ancestry. Because for me, between the two, the options you have with the Goblin Ancestry just sounds really fun. Not to say that the orcs aren't fun, but personally for me, I feel I have more fun with the Goblin Ancestries. And also, Monkey Goblin.
Oh, the monkey. God bless the Monkey Goblin. Just that's a gift. I think it comes down to players and people that create characters. There's always two constructs. There's two conflicts, two sides of a conflict. And that is focus versus flexibility. Now, not always, sometimes you focus on something else, but no matter what it is that build, it always comes down to either focus or flexibility, right? And what we see here is kind of an amazing epitome of this conflict. Orcs, focused, melee damage, you will die by my hand, ain't nothing gonna stop me. Goblins, flexibility. I can do a lot of things weirdly. You know, and it really comes down to which one you want
honestly,
as a player.
Like I said, for me, I'm honestly 90% of the time, I'm gonna stand on the side of flexibility. So for me, it's the goblins. But honestly, I could see having fun and just going on a pure rampage as an orc can be fun.
Oh my god, I just had a terrible idea. Okay, I'm gonna say this and then we're gonna take our 5. But follow me on this. So the Orc Barbarian, cliche and super effective. What if Orc Magus?
Ooh.
An unstoppable burst damage sword spell atom bomb.
Yeah.
And you can get Spell Devourer, and with all of your other Magus abilities that allow you to steal magic. That's basically another version of that.
Really quick, Rick M, the GM, says, I'm a Goblin Pro player / GM. Hey, have so much diversity, fun, shifts in alignment, and they could be sneaks, inventors, druids with a warped sense of nature, and Swashbuckler Goblin is epic. Though a Goblin Inventor, wow, over the top fun. Yeah, Megaton Strike as a Orc Goblin.
I love the idea of a Goblin Inventor because you can build your companion or you build your suit of armor, and now you're like this little itty bitty psychopath getting into this giant mech warrior robot.
Yeah,
and just like
there's a character in Star Wars: The Clone Wars who's a very small character, but they're in a giant robo armor. So I could totally see this. Or another thing, Goblin Sharpshooter Gunslinger.
Ooh, I was doing a Pathfinder first edition game years ago, and I met some really great friends there, and we've been friends ever since. He wanted to be a Goblin Gunslinger in Pathfinder first edition, and I said, okay, well, it's kind of like an interesting kind of postmodern setting. What kind of gun do you want to use? And they said, I want to use a sawed-off shotgun, and I was like, okay. You know that gun's got a lot of kick, right? And he says, yes, I do. So what we jury-rigged and homebrewed was that every time he pulled the trigger on this massively powerful gun, he had to make a reflex save or be knocked prone and maybe even knocked back a few feet.
It's like a blunderbuss.
It was, and what was fun is that he started getting creative with it, or they started getting creative with it, and they would jump in midair and pull the trigger and start doing flips and crap, and like shoot to like go 15 feet in the air and then shoot to go back. Like it was so crazy. I loved it.
I just thought of something. Playtest Gunslinger Drifter, and you're a monkey goblin, 1 foot to basically stabilize yourself, and this would be rule of cool, GM's discretion, gun in each hand, a small, like a pepper box gun or Derringer with the tail, and another gun with the free foot.
It's like
Dance of Thunder.
I'm just seeing like a monkey goblin gunslinging General Grievous just going, General Kenobi, all these guns coming out.
I'm just seeing a really cool scene, basically a goblin in the movie Equilibrium.
Yeah.
Gun kata.
Rip Psyche was the gun kata, yeah.
With the tail and the extra foot.
God, that'd be insane. Rip Psyche made a good point. Literally the thing that the Overwatch character does. Yeah, Ash. This was back in 2017, maybe. So I think this predated Ash by like 2 years or so. But yeah, same principle. Oh, right. And that is it. Oh, so much information we got to cover about orcs and goblins in these tremendous 3 books that Paizo has released, with more to come, rest assured. So please tell us what you liked more: Goblin Ancestry, Orc Ancestry. Come up with some crazy plans. I mean, I think I'm going to be back and forth between Goblin Swashbuckler and Orc Barbarian. Those are both tremendous. So without further ado, thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it and hearing some of the facts about how orcs and goblins are kind of like the ones from our show, Edge of Legend. And if you have any more questions, stick around, because we may have another episode coming out with a chance for you to ask those questions. But let's call it home. Mr. Michael Powell, please tell them who you are and where they can find you on that sweet, sweet internet.
Well, I am Michael Powell. You can find me all over the internet on my social media handle, which is usually at Mr. Kapow, that's MRKAPAO, or my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Michael Powell does stuff, because I do a lot of stuff, such as my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Fantastic Tales of Adventure. And also on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I co-host a show on the Toyzilla Network channel here on Twitch called Toyzilla Live, where we talk about toy news and a lot of nostalgia stuff. It's a lot of fun. Hope to see you there. And how about you, PJ?
Thank you. My name is PJ McGaw. You can find me all over the internet at pj.mcgaw, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and I'm coming back on Twitter with the_mega_W. It's basically my last name. So I'm all over there, and I'm open and ready to talk about this game and all this amazing TTRPG stuff that we love. And when I'm not here Tuesdays with Mr. Michael Powell talking about At the Table and all this really cool tabletop stuff, you can find me here on this channel Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, for our big, badass homebrew Pathfinder 2nd edition show, Edge of Legend. And as the Green War rages on, what choices will they make as the tip of the spear to stop the war from breaking out into full world orc war? We'll find out. Please come check us out. And then as they make great decisions, have lots of fun role play. And until then, I will see you same Nat time, same Nat channel here at the table. Be safe, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.